Hi, Amber.
Hi, Megan.
Welcome to Bad Movies Rock.
Oh, thank you, Megan. Welcome to Bad Movies Rock, where I haven't heard you say that for a while.
It's been a minute, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Been like a lot of minutes. Just sort of a weird confluence of events and my own personal laziness that have led us not to record for several weeks at this point.
Yeah. And Amber, don't take that on yourself. Like it's a, you know what? It's a combined laziness of the summer heat that has really done this to us.
It's been a lot of things. I mean, my house is currently being gutted, for construction purposes. So that's a whole deal from 7 to 4. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, I don't get a lot of sleep. It's very messy. It's about to get messier. They're going to do all the windows, Megan. They're going to rip all the windows out and put in new windows. Do you have any idea how disruptive that shit's going to be to my existence?
Well, you don't have windows in any of the rooms you're in, right, Amber?
2 in every room that I'm in.
Oh,
my bed is right next to one. It's going to be so messy. And then, yes, sometimes it's way too hot on the days when we could actually record. Also, you left town for some reason.
I did.
Didn't ask my permission.
I just take off sometimes.
What was that?
Like popcorn. It's popcorn getting up and itching her ear.
Against the table, presumably.
Apparently.
Because I felt that.
Against the back of my chair, which hit it into the table, which hit it into the mic. You're welcome for the sonicness, which is popcorn scratching her ear.
Well, Megan, let's not focus on the past. Let's focus on the future.
The future of this soldier movie that we watched?
Sure, let's focus on a militaristic future that was filmed in the 90s.
1998's Soldier.
Go straight to hell.
There must be other soldier movies.
Go straight to a waste disposal planet, please.
Oh, no.
There are other movies with the word soldier in them. I'm not sure there are other movies that are just straight called Soldier, at least not known movies. They're unknown movies. And that they are unknown by me.
Secret movies.
Megan, we watched G.I. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
We attempted to watch the spin-off Snake Eyes, in that we watched it, but we didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I am ready, but those were just soldiers, you know? Mm-hmm. If they wanted to be super, they had to put on some sort of exoskeleton nonsense, but let's focus on real super soldiers that have been bred to be soldiers or kidnapped as infants and trained to be real super soldiers. We don't want some technological nonsense. We want to look at a real dystopian future in which the military can just take babies and do whatever they want.
Yeah. And the only thing better, Amber, than stealing babies, not even children, babies, and then raising them as soldiers, is if you then genetically modify those children and raise an even better crop of super soldiers.
Let's summarize this movie. Let's give the people what they want on this here movie assessing podcast. That's what we're doing. We're assessing.
Great.
I mean, less than the movie, we assess the critics who done criticaled the movie.
Right.
And we determined, did they do a good job? Usually we don't like it. We don't like what they did, which is why we're doing what we're doing. Let's see how we fall in this instance.
Let's do it.
By first summarizing the movie. Megan, I shall give you summaries.
Okay.
From usually IMDb, Metacritic, Amazon, and Amber, but this time Metacritic does not have a soldier page. So I'm going to give you 2.
Blasphemy.
2 from Amazon. Mm-hmm. 1 from the streaming movie and 1 from the DVD.
Interesting.
So you are going to get Amazon, IMDb, Amber. And you are going to tell me, Megan, which is which.
Interesting. Amber, I have just one question. So, there's a separate Amazon DVD. Why, if this just occurs to me now, why doesn't Amazon always, at least for older movies, use the DVD synopsis of a movie? That's literally on the DVD box, so they don't even have to worry about it.
I will answer your question by reminding you that there was an instance in which I read you 3 different summaries for 3 slightly different streaming versions of the same movie.
Yeah. Amazon, I just wonder about your summary practices and the people you have working there.
It's not efficient. I mean, you would assume one summary could fit for all versions of the movie: DVD, Blu-ray, streaming, HD streaming, UHD streaming, extended version, unrated version. Now they're all different.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is why this game is so important. There's so many ways to perfectly encapsulate the same thing. Megan.
Yes.
Are you prepared to play Which is Which?
I think so.
We begin. A soldier trained from birth is deemed obsolete and dumped on a waste planet where he is reluctantly taken in by a community of defenseless, stranded wayfarers.
Okay.
I like the wayfarers. That's a nice...
Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice... Yeah.
Okay. Itchy. Left for dead on a remote planet, a fallen hero has one last battle to fight as a soldier. Kurt Russell stars as an elite warrior, selected at birth for combat, stripped of his individuality, and isolated from society. Todd Russell stoically adheres to one overriding principle: kill or be killed, until he is defeated in combat by Kane 607, Jason Scott Lee, the best of the next generation fighters. Severely wounded, Todd is jettisoned on a backwater planet where the pacifist local people nurse Todd back to health and gradually awaken Todd's long-suppressed humanity. But when Kane 607 and his battalion attack, Todd rallies the gentle people who have helped him to defend themselves against the ruthless invaders. That last one, you kind of made a noise. Yeah. Todd doesn't rally the gentle people to defend themselves?
He does not. No.
That's weird. You would assume in that instance there'd be like a training montage where he teaches them to...
Yeah, I mean, I had guessed either training montage or like soloing it, and he went with soloing it, Amber.
He did indeed. No time. And we will talk about... that was not his reasoning. His reasoning wasn't, there is no time to train you.
Sure.
There was a different reason why he did not help them defend themselves.
You make a good point.
3. Obsolete super soldier Kurt Russell must battle his genetically enhanced replacement in a cold, forbidding future. And the final one. Todd, a middle-aged man whose life is his career, finds himself out of a job when a younger generation is brought in to replace him. No partner, no family, no purpose outside of work, Todd must learn a new way to live. Luckily, a ready-made family takes him in, complete with a smoke show of a wife he can't stop staring at, a kid that will never give him any lip, and a husband that can't die tragically fast enough. And just when you think things can't get any better, that youngster that replaced him shows up, and he gets to murder them all. It's a midlife crisis fantasy, starring Kurt Russell.
Oh, very nice, Amber. Very nice. Okay, I'm going to go with... We got IMDb, and then I think we got Amazon DVD, and then Amazon, and then Amber.
Yes, pretty good. Nice job.
Oh, yeah? Huh, okay, all right.
You did. Yeah, I'm very impressed.
It was, the rambly one was very Metacritic-esque because they tend to go Metacritic-y, although it ended with untrue shit, so that made me think Amazon.
Very fair. And also there wasn't a Metacritic, so...
Exactly. No, I mean, that replaced it nicely.
It was very rambly. And then wrong.
And then incorrect.
I think mine's the best one. It's a midlife crisis fantasy. Yeah, a dude whose life is his job gets replaced by someone younger, faster, hotter.
Yeah.
And then instead of just, fading away into obscurity, he gets a hot wife, a kid who can't talk, and to murder the people who replaced him.
Yeah, he proves himself worthy, Amber. He is not replaceable. He is the best.
He is the best, and now he gets all the things that he didn't get because all he did was work.
Right.
So basically,
he gets to retire.
If you're some white dude who just worked his ass off at his job and didn't do anything else because that's what capitalistic success is, this movie is telling you you're doing a good job because if they bring someone in to replace you, don't worry, you'll just slip into someone else's life and also get to kill the person that replaced you.
Yeah. Yeah. Your reward for working in this capitalistic society and devoting everything to work will be the takeover of a, just beautiful life, beautiful wife, beautiful kid. Yeah.
And revenge fantasy.
And death to the newcomers.
Yes. Who had no choice.
No.
Let's look at the critics. And by let's, I mean you, because Metacritic didn't bother.
Yeah. So we've got, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 13 for the critics and a 44 for the audience.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. painful.
That is... I didn't expect it to be one of the lowest movies we've looked at.
Yeah, right?
It's not that bad.
I don't think it is. And yet...
As a 90s
critics,
movie, too. Like, this is...
Right?
This is pretty much... This is what the 90s do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a sci-fi soldier midlife crisis fantasy movie starring Kurt Russell. Why were they so mad at it?
Yeah, I get there's a lot of mindlesses. There's a lot of disappointing. It gets
what were they expecting it to be?
I don't know, Amber. It gets compared to Escape from LA a whole bunch.
Oh, come on.
I know.
They're nothing alike.
I haven't seen it, but
I have now watched it. This is nothing like Escape from LA. It's set in the future and it stars Kurt Russell. Do you see his hair? That's a militaristic haircut.
It is.
His hair is so long in Escape from LA.
It's true.
And he has an eye patch.
It's entirely different. There are eye patches in Escape from LA.
Eye patches and completely different coiffures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So they were busy pretending this was a different movie.
Yeah. There was a shade thrown at the fact that Kurt Russell doesn't say very much in this movie, which I actually think is kind of charming.
That's the point.
He has a total of 104 words in this movie, which is even less than John Wick had. So that's impressive. And he's in like 85% of the movie. So like that's doesn't say very much.
He is the eponymous soldier. This is his movie. And yeah, he does not talk.
Yeah. As much as critics said that, we also have people commending Russell doing kind of a Terminator-like role, where he's kind of does the absolute minimum and is physically, just intimidating. And people thought that it was, it does have fun parts and it didn't deserve to be treated so harshly, but it doesn't deserve recommendations either.
Wow.
So, yeah. There's nothing, imagine this, Amber. There's nothing substantial in any of these Rotten Tomato critical synopses that I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I mean,
yeah.
To be fair, there's not much substantial in the movie. It's not like it takes any big swings and fails or succeeds. It's not really trying to do something big, fancy, and new. But nor is it completely derivative. And it also doesn't do anything really terrible from a whoops-a-doodle, you shouldn't have done that 90s movie standpoint.
Right.
So I can see, most people watching it and just thinking, eh.
Mm-hmm.
But those people don't have vision. Those people don't have drive. Those people aren't you and me.
True. Yeah. So Critics Corner, a 13... This movie is not. This is higher than that.
I mean, even if you're about it, judge it based on its own characteristics as an action movie with a plot and decent casting and acting. Like, it's not. Yeah. 13 is you piece of taint sewage. What are you doing trying to occupy my eyeball space? Shame for shame. Seventh Son was probably higher than this, and I'm not saying Seventh Son is a garbage movie. I am saying that Seventh Son. He's certainly more ridiculous plot-wise. That one takes some swings.
Yeah. I mean, the G.I. Joes were, 20 points ahead of this one. Like up at 33.
Which is offensive, especially for the first one. Which, again, it had entertaining things. It was a big shiny mess, but I felt like the second one was pretty entertaining in many places.
Yeah.
I'd cyberblast the shit out of some things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 13 is low. All right, let's talk about why this isn't a 13.
Yeah, let's do that.
Megan, why isn't this a 13?
Oh, me first? Well, Amber, why? I'm trying to think.
Wow, you are not being convincing. I am not convinced.
Well, Amber.
That somehow made it worse. Can you do an even higher pitch to sound even more uncertain?
Well, Amber. I mean, one reason it's not a 13 is Connie Nielsen's in it.
Oh, dang.
I'll tell you that much.
Oh, dang. Oh, that's the aforementioned Smoke Show.
Yes. Yes.
I remember when we were watching it, I asked you what you remembered her from. And I think your response was, well, something with like gods and goddesses in it, because she is a goddess.
Yes. Well, you gave me the hint that it was a DC property.
True.
And so
True.
I then surmised that she must be in the goddess territory and therefore could only be in Wonder Woman and is the titular Hippolyta. Does that sound right?
I think that sounds right. She's the queen of the Amazons.
Queen of the Amazons. Yeah.
Which, yes.
She should be.
Absolutely. If it's going to be a white lady, it should be that white lady.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point.
Yeah, Connie Nielsen is in this. She's basically the woman. There's also a woman on the soldier side of things. But and that's not true. That's not true. The community that Kurt Russell finds himself in does seem to be, while democratic, the leader is a woman as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
But yeah, Connie, we spend a lot of time looking.
Oh, do we?
At Connie Nielsen. We spend so much time looking at her face, often in slow motion, and often by the softest candlelight.
Yes. We also spend a lot of time looking at Kurt Russell looking at Connie Nielsen.
I mean, I'm just doing a quick rundown of how we get to this place in the movie to give to you have to understand.
You asked me the heart of this movie, and I was trying to think of something that wasn't jumping to the middle of the movie.
Sure.
But I could not.
The heart of this movie is staring at Connie Nielsen.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not wrong.
But I think I do think to get to that we need to a little bit understand, the the Kurt Russell, the Todd. who is grown, and then they try to replace him, and we gotta find out about his story. Amber.
Sure. You're right. And this story is fine, and I think it's executed well enough. And honestly, Kurt Russell's mute protagonist is compelling. I feel like he pulls it off pretty well.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense for him to be kind of the stoic, quiet person he is.
Very much. I mean, no less because a nice automated voice is constantly telling the children as they're growing up that you only speak when spoken to by a superior officer. All right. This movie starts in a nursery with a bunch of newborn infants and some military people just grabbing some of them for reasons.
Yeah. Sure.
And then we see slightly older kids in a facility. And the first thing we see is a bunch of almost toddlers watching some Dobermans fight a Razorback.
Yeah. I did not care for that. We don't see it, but it's implied.
Yes, we hear feral pig noises, and we hear dog noises, and we see blood splatter, and we see a bunch of kids being forced to look. All the while, there's just a voice overhead saying ominous things.
And if the kids,
sorry, what were you gonna say?
And if the kids try to turn away, their faces are...
they have to watch. Yeah.
They have to open their eyes and watch.
Well, the lady is saying things like, weakness is death. Talking is naughty. The armed forces are your family. Only speak when spoken to by a superior officer. Precision is... I mean, it's just... And it just... that voice plays out as they grow up and are doing random tasks, like moving shapes around to make another shape and using guns, and then they get older and they're using more guns. They're going for runs. Yeah, they're all running.
Amber,
but one of the kids is really far behind, and so one of them signals another guy, and then a Humvee comes up behind the kid who's really far behind, and then you just hear a gunshot.
Yeah, these are like, I don't know. They're not even teenagers by that point, I think.
They might have been tweens.
Maybe, but wow, ruthless. Youch.
Yep. So that's how they were raised. And then once they're adults, and it even shows in the shooting gallery, it's just shooting targets, and they're bad guy targets. You shoot. And then one of the non-bad guy targets moves in front of one of the bad guy targets. And this non-bad guy target is a woman holding a baby. And one of the soldiers hesitates to fire. Todd does not hesitate. You shoot through the woman and the infant.
Yeah. Yep.
We see a practical lesson of that later on when, as adults, it shows us multiple campaigns that they're going on. Mm-hmm. So it's just this montage is just they'll say a battle name and a location, and then they'll just show Todd and some other soldiers shooting people.
Yep.
In various either wintry or moon-like locations, because they're also going to space.
Right, exactly. Like they go from desert to snow to moon, and it's like, okay, all right,
just shooting.
Fun
campaigns, and then it shows them in a kind of sterile facility, and another guy shows up. Jason Isaacs,
yes,
plays this. We don't like him from the beginning. We're not supposed to like Colonel Meekum,
right? One reason is they made it clear by calling him Meekum.
Yep. And you have Gary Busey is fucking Gary Busey. Jesus Christ. Church. He seems to be the commanding officer of Todd's group of baby soldiers. And then he has some second in commands, and all of them are pretty callous about these human weapons that they have made that they don't allow to speak, and who aren't supposed to have opinions, and who sort of just stand in a line until they're told what to do.
Yeah. And now, Amber, you say baby soldiers, and it's true, they were raised as soldiers from babies, but at this point, oh boy, they're getting to like their 40s. These are
they're middle-aged.
Yeah, they're middle-aged.
Baby soldiers. And wouldn't you know it, Meekum shows up with the new hotness. They're bigger, they're wearing tank tops, and their heads have been shaved.
Yes.
And they're at least, 15, 20 years younger?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're in their, like,
fresh-faced.
Mid-20s, yeah. Gotta be.
And Meekum is like, all right, I got the new hotness. These guys are obsolete. And Busey, Church, is like, nah, boo. Okay. What about speed? I mean, sure, they're young. They can be faster, but what about endurance? And so Todd, his best guy, he sends on a race. Meekum doesn't send anybody for a while. Gives him a 20-minute head start. And then he taps Kane 607, played by Jason Scott Lee, who I know and love.
Yes.
Most people don't seem to. I guess they weren't obsessed with the live-action Jungle Book from the 90s and or Dragon the Bruce Lee story.
And I could have sworn that I knew Jason Scott Lee from something. I know the name because Amber talks about him so
constantly,
much.
Yeah.
And realizing from his Wikipedia page is like, oh, I have not seen him in very much. No,
because he's not in
he
that
was
much.
He was in
The Seventh Son.
A small role. There we are. Yep, Seventh Son.
And essentially the non-talking, almost immediately transformed into a bear role. Yes. But he was still goddamn in it.
But he was in it.
Jason Scott Lee. So yeah, he's Kane 607, the best of Meekum's new boys. And wouldn't you know it, even with a 20-minute head start, he just whips past Todd on this distance race. Okay, fine. They're faster, but are they stronger? So then we just see a bunch of them doing lifting in a weight room. One of them is just like spinning in this sort of
just kind of in this like gyroscopy thing. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yep, and that apparently proves they're stronger. And Church is like, fuck, okay. But what about spirit? My guys have got spirit. And Meekum, he just poo-poos spirit. That's nothing. You mean aggressive qualities? Yeah, up the chains, Kane. They just have chains hanging in the space.
Of course they do, Amber.
I mean, they have a long distance running course. Sure. They have a weight room, of course. Then they just have chains.
Yeah. You know how you do your chain training?
Your chain training. And they have, each chain has like little circles that you can maybe put one foot on to stand on. So they send Kane up the chains and they send Todd up the chains. Meekum's like, spirit. Send 2 more of your guys up there. Church. And wouldn't you know it, Kane 607 just lays them out. And by lays them out, I mean murders.
Yeah.
Murders them.
Yeah, this is also where, I mean, like, we we had an implied, like, animal fight, which was disturbing. We had a, implied, child shooting, also very disturbing. We've not seen much as of yet. But this gets gruesome. Yeah, this gets a little gruesome.
This chain fight does it. It up. And Todd...
This is an R-rated movie.
It is indeed
and they start to show it. Mm-hmm.
And Todd, in the course of the fight, does manage to rip out one of Kane's eyes. But then he also gets laid out and falls on top of his other dead friend with his eyes open. And then, I mean, Church, he's convinced...
Church is as heartbroken as he can be by saying something like, Todd was my best guy, or something like that.
Yes, he watches these people who presumably they've worked with since birth.
Babyhood, yeah. And they're just being, like, dragged off unceremoniously by their feet, you know, just, and he, just monotone.
I think my favorite part of this is learning that Meekum then says, like, chalk this up to a training exercise. I was thinking this entire time, it was perfectly acceptable for them to just have these guys murder each other for the sake of figuring out who's better and, you know, determining, my new man flesh technology is the best man flesh technology. These guys are now obsolete. As it turns out, no, they have to lie about what happened because they weren't supposed to just throw away these human lives.
Yeah. Surprising, actually, for this dystopian future world, but... Yeah.
But I guess it does justify them then, instead of just dumping his body any old place, or, I don't know, jettisoning it into space.
Yeah.
They take it to a waste disposal planet.
Yeah. Yep.
A planet on which they dispose waste. Just a whole
hunkin' planet.
Whole planet. And they send ships there to dump stuff.
Mm-hmm. And it is during this that... Todd, who was open-eyed, seemingly unmoving, dead before, now awakens.
Yeah, he's awake. He wasn't dead. He wasn't dead. Resting with his eyes open.
Mm-hmm.
Unmoving on top of his friends' corpses. Well, I guess they weren't friends, colleagues.
Yeah, I wouldn't, don't put that. Yeah, so, and it's one thing about this is that it's a little bit of a hard start, at least for me, in terms of, okay, we've got baby super soldiers who are now middle-aged, and we've got the new DNA manipulated hotness super soldiers. And, like, I'm supposed to pick a side? You know, or I'm supposed to be on the side of the, you know, middle-aged super soldiers? It's a little bit of a hard sell for me personally. Like, I kind of root for no super soldiers just in my, you know, my own life. But
don't you want them to find life and love and happiness and then be able to murder the people who replace them, and also maybe the commanding officers that port them through all of this? Because even his Church seems to have some sentiment towards his middle-aged charges. Yes. He doesn't really give a shit about them.
Oh yeah, and so absolutely, Amber, you're correct. You're right that they what they do is they turn that, which works for me, as in a like, oh, don't hate the super soldiers, hate the people who made them and are making them do this shit.
Don't hate the player, hate the game, Megan. That's a lesson for everyone.
Yes, true. Except also do hate the new hotness, because we are going to need to murder them.
The poor new hotness. They're not any different from Todd, other than the fact that they're young, and we hate them for being younger and stronger and probably more virile. I bet his sperm swims so good.
I don't know. There's probably a lot of chemical testosterone engineering in there that would make me think...
Oh yeah, his testicles are probably the size of peas.
Yeah, you probably don't need them to reproduce, so you just kind of...
Probably don't want them to. Sex drive would be inconvenient for all the murder shenanigans they need to be getting up to. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, we do have two groups of people who do not have bodily autonomy, and nor were they raised with any love or like social skills, really. And so, anyway. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the movie is a little over 90 minutes, and the beginning part really does move right along.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's boy,
The whole
he is
movie
man, he is
rolls
middle-aged
along.
man, he is garbage. And then he is
Yep.
garbage found by other people, because this waste disposal planet, as Megan noted when we were watching it, has atmosphere.
It does.
And also people who were stranded there some time ago.
Right, right. Amber said it's not truly wasteful unless you're using a planet that you could actually live on if you had to.
Yes. It's not really waste if it was a planet you couldn't have lived on in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it's just a disposal planet.
True.
I mean, that was nonsense, but I stand by it.
Sure.
So the movie really starts as we have our still has not said a word, Todd, found by a bunch of colonists who don't want to be there. They were headed to a much nicer planet, one of the Trinity moons, and they got stuck here, and no one is saving them or seems to be interested in saving them. So they've built a life out of the trash. It's a nice life, you know. It's a little janky, but it's good. It's good, and they nurse him back to health. And they sort of he's specifically taken care of by one particular family.
Yep. And from the beginning, they know what he is, and they are
his name and his
nervous
rake
of him.
are tattooed on his cheek.
And his whole arm has all his battles that he
his military
has fought in.
campaigns. Yeah.
And so that's also very upsetting.
It is. But they have a nice life here, a peaceful life. It's hard fought, but it's very democratic. You know, you see them making votes to stay there. There's a woman in charge, so that's already, 90 points in their favor. And yeah, you have Sandra, Connie Nelson's character, her husband, Mace, and their son, whose name I don't remember. And it's just, is it Nathan? Is that Nathan?
Yeah, Nathan.
And see, Nathan, little boy, he doesn't talk. He was bitten by one of these green snakes that like to launch themselves solely at people's faces.
Oh, they're face snakes, Amber.
They're straight
These
up face
snakes. Yeah.
And they're pretty poisonous. They could kill a man, but mostly they kill smaller things. They're very dangerous and deadly. And Nathan was bitten as a child. He survived, but he cannot talk.
Yeah. Amber, I would like to tell you a little
Jesus.
something.
Oh, Jesus.
Snake facts. Learn about some snakes. Although, what I will say is actually this snake facts is more about how I need to be really careful about IMDb, because sometimes I get, information from IMDb, and I think it's often like, take it with a grain of salt, but there were some straight up fucking lies on IMDb. And one of them being that that they used really deadly, they called them Thai snakes or something like that, to for this, and that they'd stitched the like venom I don't know, pores closed, and because they still want to use these highly venomous snakes, but they didn't want them to bite anybody. And that even when Kurt Russell was holding one, that it was actually a handler holding one kind of in front of his face. That's all lies. They did not use, there's no such thing as the snake that they said. And they used green snakes, which are not poisonous at all, and milk snakes and some kind of boas for their kind of pit of snakes. So Amber, this snake fact is more of a meta snake facts, which is you should always, confirm your snake facts. Confirm me. Like I am not the snake expert that I'd like to be. I'm learning, but if I told you some ridiculous shit like that, like you gotta question it, folks. Take your snake facts from reputable sources.
Okay.
And that's your snake facts. Learning about some snakes.
Oh, geez. So entertain but verify is what you're saying.
Yes, that is what I'm saying,
The
Amber.
snake facts. Who came up with that nonsense? Yeah, they used super poisonous snakes, but they stitched their venom sacs closed.
Yeah, and I was worried at that point, but then I got to the bottom of IMDb, And they have a whole thing about the snakes, and they were talking about, because this was filmed on a different planet, the snakes weren't used to the harsh alien atmosphere, so they need to be fitted with their own respirators while not filming. And the two snake experts, handlers on set, Jimmy the Asp and Peter That's Not My Python, were paid handsomely, and they became the go-to snake guys, including on working on Snakes on a Plane.
So wait, is this suggesting
somebody
that because they were filming on another planet? So this movie that was filmed on another planet.
Yeah.
Wow. And those names.
Yeah. Yeah. It was about the time they were talking about snake respirators that my keen sense of scientific acuity just jumped out and said, I don't think they had fitted respirators for these snakes.
I mean, we did just see a video of a snake exoskeleton that lets them walk. So why not snake respirators, Megan?
You make a good point.
Science fiction and reality, the lines continually blur. Thanks a lot, science.
Anyway. Amber, how did I just derail this?
No.
How could that possibly be?
No, Snake Facts never derails anything, and it creates a nice, smooth, cohesive environment. All right, we were talking about the family that took him in. Hot lady, silent son, and affable but killable dad.
Yeah, and so we've got Nathan, who's like, he is actually very much Todd-like. Todd says very little, and so it's kind of nice that they get to be like...
And Nathan can't say anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, he's shown that you can plant plants in the ground and eat food with people, and he saves a guy, and the guy's really grateful. And also, woman.
Oh boy,
pretty woman.
This gets creepy, Amber. This gets more than creepy. In fact, it got so creepy that Amber and I had to alter our reality in order to make this okay.
No, I mean, we're not altering our reality. What we're doing is we're fleshing out the details of this film universe in a way that the runtime didn't allow. I would suggest from the subtext that everything we're assuming is probably correct. Now,
Good point. How could we be wrong?
There is a period of time in this movie where it progresses the calendar of what we're seeing, from Kurt Russell's convalescence and introduction into this society to he has been here for a while, we don't know how long, up until Christmas, I guess. And not knowing when he arrived makes it difficult for us to determine if it's days, weeks, or months. It doesn't matter. So the way time has progressed in the middle is that a Lorena McKennett song starts playing, like this dreamy song, Night Rider. If you were alive in the 90s, you heard it. And we see a slow motion montage of, you would think his life of integrating into the community and learning skills and maybe learning more than two emotions. He has this lovely conversation with Sandra, it's a conversation. She talks, and occasionally she asks him questions, and then he responds with a few words. And she asks him, what do you feel? You must feel something. And it takes him a minute. And he's like, fear and discipline. She's like when you're fighting, all the time, sir. Oh.
Yep. Discipline as a feeling.
Yeah, the feeling of discipline. And you would think, okay, so all this time is going to be spent learning how to have more than the two feelings. No, time progresses by us watching him watch her. With Lorena McKennett playing in the background. In slow motion, it's all just her. Him staring and us seeing her for a while.
For a very long time, yeah.
We hear a big chunk of that song. While we watch Sandra do things in the community while he's staring at her. Often not from very far away. I guess it's good that he's not lurking, but...
Yeah. And we learn a little bit about their society. I mean, it's not unsurprising. They're on this, waste planet, which has harsh kind of winds that go by. They've kind of eked out this kind of small but kind of happy community here where they have like a small place where they can farm and they have a few things that are nice, but like it's all obviously salvaged from trash that people threw away.
So we were forced to reconcile, as the audience of this film, two things. One, how is nobody doing anything about the dude who's just staring at this woman for weeks on end, presumably? How does Mace not care? How does Sandra not care? How does the rest of the community not be like, oh my, I guess we're doing nothing because he's a deadly weapon who is a human man? No. Okay, so there's that. And then, as we are eking out a scavenged existence, we see Mace and Sandra hanging out in their bedroom. It has these opulent, vibrant orange sheets and blankets. The bed itself is suspended from the ceiling, and they are surrounded by dozens of lit candles.
Yes.
How everybody else looks like what you would expect, like scavenged stuff, kind of dirty faces, but this bedroom, though, looks like a fantasy. And her hair is always perfect, and she's clean. And how?
Well, Amber, this kind of solidified kind of what must be happening in this community is that people see Connie Nelson or Sandra, and they recognize her as the goddess she is. And so essentially, anytime somebody sees a candle, a thrown away bit of wax, they collect it and they give it to Sandra and Mace, because if anybody deserves to be lit by soft candlelight, it is her.
Exactly. We've cracked the code on this. No one cares that Todd is staring at her, because everyone stares at her. It's what you do with Sandra. Everyone is constantly staring at Sandra. And you don't question their bedroom or the opulence or the fact that she is the only one who receives hair care products, because everyone knows she's the only one that should be lit by soft candlelight and have perfect hair. Right. It is just accepted. Oh shit, I found some more candles. I'm going to take them over to Mace's and Sandra's. Yes, please do that. It's...
Right. And it actually should be Sandra and Mace's, because it is clear that Sandra, like, just kind of picked who she wanted. Everybody kind of lined up, and she decided on Mace, apparently, at least for what we saw. Yeah. I mean, and I think this makes sense for a community to, who's living on a waste planet, who's having just a hard existence. I mean, why wouldn't you... especially also if you have a goddess in your midst, just kind of, recognize that goddesshood and, give to the goddess.
Yeah, you have to have something to focus on in this life, right? I mean, it's a hard life. It's a dirty life. It's dangerous. Let's elevate something. Let's bring some art and some beauty into our lives. And she is the personification of those things. So why not, in your own small way, sort of worship and nurture that? And and so to have Todd plop in and just stare at her all the time every day without talking isn't strange.
No, it's just, they're like, yeah, I mean, we've gotten a little bit better at also doing other things in our lives. But yeah, the first time we saw her, this was also us for a year straight.
We get it, baby.
For sure.
We get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Todd is an ex-soldier who was trained as a baby to be a soldier and nothing else. And so he's got some issues, and he almost kills one of them. Actually, he almost kills the guy that he absolutely saved earlier in the movie.
Yep. He's got some PSD and just very much like is triggered by some sounds. And so the guy who he saved doesn't, tries to give him a scarf, Amber, and just catches him at the wrong moment.
He does catch him. He was in the middle of his calisthenics, which involves punching a metal thing that's sort of shaped like a punching bag.
Yeah, like a huge, I would call it like a huge muffler. It's essentially
just a big metal tube that he's just punching.
Which, honestly, super soldier in your midst, punching a metal object. I think maybe that's not the time I approach him to give him a scarf.
I would agree.
Personally.
I would think that he chose a bad moment for gift giving, but that's okay. Todd was already having some issues with the groups. I think he liked them, but I think it was very overwhelming. The real straw that brings that old camel to his knees is in the home. He's still with Mace and Sandra and little Nathan. And wouldn't you know it, one of them there green snakes, the face snakes, tries to launch himself at Nathan. And Kurt Russell's like, hey, buddy, here's a boot. Smack it. And Nathan's like, I mean, he doesn't say it because he doesn't say anything.
No, he doesn't.
But his face says it. And
he demonstrates, like,
smack.
Do this thing.
Yeah, again, Todd doesn't use words if he doesn't need to use words. So he smacks the boot on the ground and tosses a boot to Nathan. And the snake comes for his face. So Todd stops the snake and then throws the
mid-air.
snake and then throws the snake on the ground and then tells him to smack it with the boot. And he doesn't. And then Mace and Sandra show up and stab the snake. And like, Todd, the fuck are you doing? Don't. Yeah. He's a little boy. It's a deadly snake.
Right.
So when the community votes him off the island, they had been his protectors. They'd rooted for him, and like they were tipping the scales to keeping him. And now that they are nervous that he could endanger their son, now it's time for him.
Now
to go.
we've tipped over to him getting kicked out.
Megan, how do they tell him that it's time for him to go?
I say kicked out, Amber, but they never use any words like that. They, in more words than Todd says in the entire movie, they tell him that he is their friend, that it's not him, it's them, that they just don't think this is working for everybody involved, and how they're going to give him a lot of like all the stuff he needs to survive, but he just can't be in the community anymore. But they do love him very much, and
they respect him. They
respect
you. Are just different. You're a living weapon. We don't hate you. We actually totally respect you and what you're capable of, and you are capable of, and you are definitely our friend. We just don't want you anywhere near us because we are a community of families and children, and to include you would pose an intolerable risk. But we totally love and respect you.
Yep. They very much do not want to upset Todd. Yeah.
But they very much don't want him anywhere near them anymore.
They also don't want him near them anymore. It's yeah.
And I think this leads to possibly one of my favorite moments of Megan watching this movie, because Todd runs off because they told him to go, and he's a decent living weapon, and he goes and holes up in a round thing and sets a fire and finds a third feeling, and that feeling is single tear tracing down his cheek.
Yeah.
His third feeling is sadness.
He's sad, yeah.
Abandoned by his new family.
Heartbreaking.
And wouldn't you know it, in their opulent-ass bed, lit by soft candle light with their beautiful hanging seedy art, Mace and Sandra have a visitor to their bed. It's a face snake.
It's a face snake going for their sleeping faces, crawling all the way up their bodies and going for, like, this snake cannot eat these people. No. This is a small snake, folks. Like, this is not some anaconda. These are like, I don't know, foot and a half, green snakes.
Yep.
They're just doing this for fun. They're not eating this person. They're just going for the face.
Maybe Megan, they are the sentient life of this planet. Maybe they are the native species of what was not always a waste disposal planet. And maybe these fucking invaders who are wrecking their shit need to go. This is guerrilla warfare. Face snakes are just trying to get rid of the colonizers.
Okay, all right.
So
what happens?
So the face snake manages to get on this floating bed and crawl up towards their faces.
That's a good question. Like, although we've seen them jump feet in the air, so exactly. It can do this.
Yeah. So it makes a jump to the bed and then just slowly works its way. It's savoring the moment. I'm going to kill your goddess. Despair, all ye colonizers.
The snake goes for Mace. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, does it?
I'm pretty sure he goes for
Even
Mace
the
because
face snakes are brought in by the power of Sandra.
They know.
Maybe they covet her for themselves.
Maybe that could be it. Get away, small child. She's mine.
Yes.
Oh, you lived. Then it is your husband.
Indeed. Well, small child comes in with the good lessons that Todd gave him, snatches Face Snake off of the bed, throws it onto the floor, and boots it into oblivion.
Yeah.
Well done, Nathan.
In which case it finally occurs to Sandra and Mace that, Todd wasn't being cruel. He wasn't letting the child die. He was teaching him a valuable lesson in self-preservation.
Smack to death a face snake for a man. You save him in that moment. Teach a man to smack a face snake to death. You save his parents for a lifetime.
You do. That's beautiful, Amber.
That was almost something.
No, it was perfect. I loved it.
Mace immediately starts getting dressed. He's like, we made the wrong choice. We got to bring him back. I'm going to get him. Immediately.
Yeah, and immediately.
Megan, as you pointed out, his timing could not have been better. He manages to track down Todd and gets in we were wrong right before.
Oh, right before. Oh, just before. Oh, boy.
Big old ship passes overhead.
He got that apology in under the wire. Like, whoo, boy.
We were wrong. We want you to come back. Ooh, what's that? It turns out it's a big ship full of the next-gen military guys on a training exercise who've been given the go-ahead to just murder anyone they find on this planet since no one is supposed to be here. So, that, whoopsie, please come back, we were wrong, came in just under the wire.
Of like, we mean it, and it's not just because we're going to be invaded by super soldiers.
Yeah. And then the rest of the movie goes into hardcore action, which is actually,
I
would say, very well done.
Decent. Yeah.
You have the entire might of this group of next-gen super soldiers with all of their bulletproofing and flamethrowers and weapons and giant tank vans and just one Todd. Just one Todd with some scavenged weapons, and wouldn't you know it, one Todd is enough.
Right, because, Amber, he is spirit.
I thought we proved he didn't have spirit in the chain thing.
Oh, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. Smartness, I think Church talked at some point about, like, cleverness and smartness.
Okay. We didn't get a chance to test that before the chain death.
And I think Meekum poo-pooed that. It's like, no, they follow orders. Like, they're not supposed to think. Anyway,
you're right.
But the new hotness really thinks they're taking on, like, a battalion.
Yes.
Because he is just so much.
He's everywhere.
Todd is everywhere. Yeah. I mean, we also get, these, okay, Amber, Mace had to die. It's very,
Yeah.
You gotta replace, you're replacing, the new hotness is trying to come in and replace Todd. Todd needs to deal with both the new hotness. He also, Todd can't kill Mace, but Mace has to, vacate a spot that Todd needs to take up. So
yeah, he needs his reward of silent child and hot wife. Yeah, Mace has got to go.
Yeah, so Keen comes in and shoots Mace in the back. As soon as they see people there, they shoot them because, training exercise.
We got to see these new guys in action to prove that they really are the best.
Right.
Meanwhile, Todd's old unit has been stripped of their soldierness, and they're now sort of just gophers, just doing random stuff. There's actually a pretty sad scene where one of the ladies who's in charge of them is just like, yeah, soldiers get guns. And you don't get guns because you're not soldiers anymore. In fact, you don't have to call me ma'am anymore.
You don't need to salute.
You're just a person now. Person we made into nothing but a soldier.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is just cruelty.
It's harsh.
They built them to be one thing, and now they're taking that one thing away from them, which is just...
Yep. You know what? I think that soldier finds a third feeling in that moment, too.
Yeah. Is it Wiggly Face that's almost a tear?
I think it was Wiggly Face that's almost a tear. Yeah. But he was in front of his boys, so it's he couldn't.
Oh yeah.
He couldn't find the full third feeling. It was just he was on his way to the third feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. One man action crew. There's some fun stuff with water and light and stabbing.
Yeah.
The reason Amazon was wrong at the end is that he does not train anybody to
No.
defend themselves. They have guns, and they're
Sure.
willing to use them. And Sandra actually point blank asks him, "Can you train us to save ourselves?" He's like, "Nope, I'm going to do it." "What are you going to do?" "Oh, I'm going to kill them all." "But why don't you let us help you?" "No, ma'am. A soldier deserves a soldier." So the thing is, they're not good enough to kill them because they're not soldiers. It would be disrespectful for him to let civilians kill soldiers.
Yeah. It can be taken a lot of ways, because I can also, like, they're not good enough. Plus, soldiers deserve, like, a soldier death. Plus, also, maybe you're not a soldier, and maybe that's a good thing. Yeah. Anyway, soldiers deserve soldiers.
It's the
though, Amber.
deserves that gets me. It really does seem like it would just be, I mean, if one of you assholes killed me, ooh, I would hope I'd go
ouch.
straight to hell. I don't deserve to go to heaven if one of you dicks brings me down. No offense, ma'am.
Yep. And he, to be fair, Amber, he always calls her sir.
He does.
Yeah, everybody's sir to them. Amber, we also get, we get to see both Church and Meekum are on the ship that's there, and we kind of see them start to fall apart with their own relationship, to the point where once Todd has killed almost all of the New Hotness folks, Meekum wants to go ahead and take off and just leave, but the old soldiers are setting up, I don't know, communications or something, and Church doesn't want to go without them, and Meekum says, "We gotta go because I'm not dying to save your old soldiers, old baby soldiers," and then Meekum just cold-heartedly shoots Church.
And what they're setting up is a bomb that blows up the whole planet.
Oh, right, yeah.
They're not just leaving; they're just blowing up the planet.
That's right. They decide that they can, not only can they not win, but they have to nuke the entire trash planet.
Don't worry, they have like 15 of these planet blow them up bombs on their training plane, so it's not like they're wasting a resource. Yeah, Meekum's decision is to, let's just blow it up, and no one has to know what happened here. And no one will ask why I lost an entire unit of really probably very expensive super soldiers on their training mission.
Yep.
Descent within the ranks, murder. Luckily, Todd has pretty much killed all the new guys, and he finds the old guys. And the old guys are like, "Hey, bro, we remember you," but not with words, because they don't talk.
No, with a chin lift, Amber.
Kurt Russell just shows up, stares at them, then they stare back at him, and then he slightly raises his chin, and all of them immediately fall back into ready positions.
Yep.
And then
that was
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was very good.
That was good. They get all the remaining settlers. A lot of them are dead.
There's not very many remaining settlers. There's
Todd's,
Connie, of course.
Well, of course. Obviously, Sandra made it, and so did Nathan. He needs his reward, family, Megan. Todd's decision to be a one-man army definitely cost people their lives, because while he was dealing with one van of murder soldiers, the other van moved on to the settlement and started killing folks.
Yeah. And I don't think there's much they could have done about that for sure, but they could have been instructed to run. They could have been instructed. He could have dealt with them first. Yeah, like there's but what can you do?
I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter. They save the kids, which is emotionally important, and then, he gets Sandra and Nathan, and that's all that really matters. And so they take the training ship with the 14 remaining planet-killing bombs and head off to the original moons that the colonists were heading towards. And you have all the other soldiers moving around the ship, the old soldiers, and Nathan comes up to Kurt Russell's character, old Todd, and does like an uppa. And so Todd just picks him up. And then the other soldiers sort of stare at him like, the fuck? And he just gives them a, what? This is what we do now, look. And I half expected the other soldiers to just kind of decide, okay, I guess and then just go grab kids of their own.
And then just keep working their standard job, but just always holding a child.
Always holding a child, because our commanding officer, this is what we do now, I guess. So just grab a kid. We have a kid now.
Yep.
Are we going to make them watch a dog and a pig fight? I don't know what to do with kids. I assume that's what you do with kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty great.
Pretty great.
And Meekum and the few left of the commanding officers are left on this trash planet, which then explodes. So
yeah.
Happy ending for all.
Happy ending. It explodes specifically because of Meekum. The lady commanding officer Sloan is trying to deactivate it, but she can't remember if it's 6-7 or 7-6. And he shoves her out of the way and puts in the wrong number, and it makes it blow up. And so he
did it to them.
He does it to himself. He gets his own petard hoisted with a boom boom.
He does.
You know what? I just realized he blew up all the sentient snakes.
Oh, it's very sad. I did want them to disarm the bomb and then have to, eke out their own living.
Sure. And the settlement they just destroyed. Yeah,
been destroyed. I thought that would have been and being eaten by face snakes.
Oh, the face snakes don't eat you, Megan. They just kill you, as you noted.
And as noted, yes. Well, Amber, what do you give this movie on the rock scale? Regrettable, outstanding, crazeballs, K, or solid?
It's almost solid. Mm-hmm. It's K, and it's got some crazeballs. Not a ton, but it's definitely got some moments. I loved this movie as a kid. I still quite like it. It's not amazing. The action isn't incredible, but I genuinely do kind of enjoy Kurt Russell's stoic man, no talkie, but vulnerable child, more feely.
Yes.
He doesn't talk, but he feels so much. And he stares at Sandra so much. And it's pretty off-putting. I don't know. I guess K. I mean, I wouldn't say run out and watch Soldier, but I'm glad that I did, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's silly. Yeah, K with a little solid and some hints of crazeballs.
Smattering of crazeballs. Yeah, I greatly enjoyed this movie. I thought it was an enjoyable watch. I would say that a lot of that is because we came up with our own fleshed out storyline for it. But, it's always delightful watching a movie with you, Amber.
As it should be. It's not the movies. It's me. I mean, I'm willing. I'm humble enough to admit that it's not the movies. It's me.
Yes.
And this is a Paul W.S. Anderson film of Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, Mila Jovovich fame. So that, kind of recommends it in some fashion, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Megan, do an easy story.
Amber. Well, Amber, I was having dinner with Maddie at some point, and we're having spaghetti. And I asked her what she thought of the meal, and she put 2 thumbs up and said, "Crunchy yummy."
Crunchy yummy?
Yeah, there was also crunchy garlic bread as well.
Oh,
so
okay, that's actually really, really helpful because
yes, but kind of important.
I was confused how your spaghetti really.
I poorly cooked the spaghetti, Amber.
You didn't cook the spaghetti if it's crunchy yummy.
It's just crunchy. Yes. Yeah. 2 thumbs up, crunchy yummy.
Crunchy
Amber.
yummy.
That's all I got. Amber.
I approve of that enthusiasm for your crunchy yummy spaghetti.
Thank you.
And garlic bread. You gotta say the whole thing, Megan. I'm gonna make assumptions.
Good point. Amber, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet because reasons. But I definitely watched Netflix's Sandman. At least the first 8. I have 2 episodes left. I am recommending it in the same way that I guess we recommended Vox Machina, because it's one of those things where watching it, I'm obviously thinking about the graphic novels by Neil Gaiman that it is very much based on. And so I read all of these stories. I know all of these characters, and there's strong visuals because they're graphic novels. And so I'm watching it with those in my head. And so it's obviously elaborated and enriched by that information. And this is definitely one of the most satisfying adaptations I think I've ever watched of something that I've read or seen before that's been remade. And it's really good. The visuals are really, really, really stunning. The casting is really perfect, not just from a visual perspective, but from like somebody who's able to capture the character. Death in particular is perfectly cast. And the episode that really centers around that character that is based on the comic that's centered around that character is so well done and so well captures just the sentiment of that. And the changes that they've made, at least the ones that I've noticed, I've actually really liked and appreciated. There's one in particular early on in the series that's in one of the first stories that I was sort of clenching my sphincter waiting for because I hate it. And they changed it. And I was so relieved and delighted, especially because of the casting. The character that they cast in the role, who was about to have the thing happen to them, I wanted even less for it to happen because of who it was and how well she took on the role. And they changed it, and it was great. It's not a CGI blowout, which is impressive because you could so easily fall into that with something whose visuals are so trippy and mythical, and it's based in dreamlike. So Sandman is, I think I've recommended the comic before. I'm not going to try and describe it. It's a comic about a character who is the personification of dreams. He's sort of a god, but more than that and less than that. And he is sort of a part of a bunch of different stories. It's a story about stories and storytelling. Okay. I don't know. I'm bad at describing things, and this one is particularly difficult to describe, but it's very, very good. Look up the description. If it interests you, give it a go. I am curious to see what people who've never read the comics think of it. Like, is it something that's easy to get into and easy to enjoy without that in your mind? Or if it's sort of a bit too much.
Right.
But casting-wise, visual-wise, it's really, really good. Adaptation-wise, I felt really, really satisfied by it. And I'm curious what people who are just coming to it cold would think. So, The Sandman on Netflix.
Lovely. Excellent.
Megan, do you have a recommendation?
I do. I'm going to recommend Not Another D&D Podcast. It is a podcast by some of the people who are also in Dimension 20. They started it actually kind of at the same time as Dimension 20 was happening. Emily Axford and Brian Murphy are the folks also associated with Dimension 20, and it's also got Jake Hurwitz and Caldwell Tanner, who are also like College Humor folks. So again, comedy podcast. They've got several seasons, and I just kind of finished up the first season, which is a story about what happens after the campaign. So the whole idea is they are kind of doing a little bit of world cleanup after like the big heroes came in and kind of did their big, like, we're like killing the devil, I think is what the the big conquest was. But kind of in doing that, they killed the dragon, but the dragon was also like kind of protecting this town. And so now that the dragon's gone, now there's like people coming into this town and ransacking it. So like they're kind of cleaning up the aftermath of adventurers who have just kind of, steamrolled a path through this world. So it's kind of an interesting idea and take on it. And it is also very funny. Emily Axford is one of my favorite folks on Dimension 20. She's always she's very animated, very funny, very ridiculous. Anyway, delightful. At least the first, I think, 100 episodes are the first story. It's very good.
Excellent.
Recommend.
Excellent and well recommended.
Thank
I feel like
you.
I have a really good grasp on what it is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I feel like you're showing off, which is really annoying. See, you're going to have to watch Sandman, and then you're going to have to describe it to people so that they can get a real recommendation.
Okay. I think you did a beautiful job, Amber.
Or they could just read the comics like I told them to, and then they'd already know.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is on our listeners.
Yeah. Any hoozles. Megan, this has been lovely. Let's do it again sometime. Soon, this time.
Sure. Let's try.
It's been a while. We'll try.
Yeah. Well, Amber, I'll close up like I always do by saying to you, my friend, every great story seems to begin with a snake.
Nope. You can't just change it. You can't just change it.
This is attributed to Nicolas Cage saying this.
Wow. So basically he just read the Bible, which still didn't begin with a snake. Like, it didn't. It began with a bunch of other stuff, and then a snake showed up, and then shit started getting, like, raw, certainly. Okay, but you do rock things? You can't just switch to snakes because you've decided to add snake facts and nonsense to our podcast.
I see. Well, Amber, let me bring it all together by saying to you, my friend, I'm like a snake sleeping on a rock. I won't bother you unless you poke a stick at me.
That's really clunky.
It is, yeah.
That is that's a really clunky way to say that.
Yeah.
And specific. Yep. I won't bother you unless you poke a stick at me. That's terrible. That is terrible. Yeah. Every good story does not begin with a snake. There are actually very few snakes.
It seems to, Amber.
Oh, it seems. He said it seems to. So that way, it's just his own subjective understanding. But have you ever noticed how, like, they seem to all start with a snake? Really? How does Rudolph start with a snake? Where's the snake in Rudolph, motherfucker?
Take it up with Nicolas Cage, Amber.
I don't want to. I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to have any conversation with him because I am concerned he might convince me of his rightness.
I mean, that is the danger of conversing with him.
I'm like a snake on a rock. Then let me say a bunch of other words at you. What I'm trying to say is leave me alone.
I'm like a snake on a rock. Leave me alone.
Or I'll fuck you up. Leave me alone, or I will either A, regurgitate my food at you and peace out, or B,
gross.
regurgitate my food at you and bite the shit out of you. Because the reason I'm on this rock is because I'm trying to digest some stuff, okay?
Yeah.
So it can either be replaced by you or be on you. Leave me alone.
Yep. I could lunge at your face if I'm a face snake, too.
I might face snake this shit. I'm like a snake on a rock. Fuck off.
Yep.
That's much better.
Amber. Very nicely
fixed
done.
it.
I'll add that.
I fixed your nonsense.
I'll add that to BrainiQuote.com.
Thank you. Please do.
Amber. Bye.
Bye, Megan.